Moving on to the New Zealand and South Africa and their tours of different places in Europe right now. Right now, South Africa is playing Ireland, while New Zealand are done playing Ireland, Ireland and Scotland, while they are playing Netherlands now. So, talking about the Ireland versus New Zealand series, which was rather close. All three of the games went really close. Two of them were won by 1 run and 1 wicket. So, in cricket, we do not usually call the game of cricket very correlational. I mean, it's not like Ireland being playing close games with Ireland would mean New Zealand is a weak side or anything. But do you think it would be in the back of their minds, especially in the T20 World Cup, now that New Zealand is not as strong as it used to be? They are kind of missing Kane Williamson recently, and especially his captaincy. So, do you think it is going to affect them somewhere?
If anything, I think it would give them more confidence because the way, especially two of those games, the way they went, New Zealand had no business winning them. But the fact that they managed to pull it off, uh, it speaks more to the strength of character of the players underneath the top brass of New Zealand. So I think that would give them more confidence than uh, be a negative. Because even if it is only Ireland, which I don't like to say, but even if it is a weaker team and it was close, the fact New Zealand did win those from very seemingly impossible positions, it's not a bad thing. Michael Bracewell had a disastrous series in England before the European tour, and something like that, can really destroy your confidence. But the way he's played after that, he's he's perfectly in a good position to make New Zealand's World Cup squad now. And a lot of cricket is mental, and if you have a player in the amount of confidence that Bracewell is in right now, it can only be a good thing.
You bring up a really good point. The cricket is a game that is a lot more mental than it is physical, since there's a lot of things uh, that rather depend on how you think than how you do. And it is my personal opinion. Maybe people will agree, people will not agree. But I think playing again, as you said, not a weaker team, team like Ireland or even Scotland, especially after having played a very grueling series against England. To play with the teams like Ireland and Scotland is actually good, I guess, for New Zealand, because these are the kind of series that can help you with the team building rather than looking at the results. Because, as I said, there are some new faces, and there are people who have not had that much of an experience in internationals, and you are rather looking at a relatively new leader in Tom Latham. So I think it is nice for them to play, you know, Ireland or Scotland in order to, get the newer guys together, and give them the confidence. As you said, uh, Michael Breswell was kind of low on confidence, but after that Ireland series, I guess he's one of the best all rounders in white ball right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is the sort of tour that probably wouldn't have happened under normal circumstances because I'm pretty sure the reason New Zealand are doing this in the first place is because it's hard to go back to New Zealand right now because they're very strict on entry requirements, and New Zealand have to play. They had to play the series in England, the Test series, and they have to play an ODI series in the West Indies, but they can't do that until August. So in between, they just have to fill a calendar with whatever. So they filled it with a bunch of games against Ireland, Scotland, and the Netherlands. And yeah, like you said, it's a good time. It's a good opportunity to try different players. It's a good opportunity to let the more fringe players get a sustained run in the side they may not have been able to get otherwise. And it just lets you see what you can work with.
And at the same time, there's the other side of it. Teams like Ireland, Scotland, or Netherlands wouldn't get a crack at the relatively stronger teams if it wasn't for the ODI Super League. And it is not, it is nice to see someone like a Paul Sterling or Balburney or even Muncy to play against these stronger bowling attacks that they might not get unless they qualified for a T20 or a 50 over World Cup. So I guess it is a win-win situation for the both of the teams, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think any of these series were Super League series. I know Scotland's definitely wasn't, and none of the T20s were either. Like these were all bilateral games. But yeah, like these are the type of games that they wouldn't normally get, without, without exceptional circumstances. Uh, this was Scotland's first game against a full member that was in Ireland since 2018 when they beat England. Sorry, again, since 2019 they played Sri Lanka before the World Cup. That was the last time they played a full member, and since then they've played, every associate with ODI status, but they haven't played a full member until they played New Zealand the other day. Netherlands wouldn't be able to get these sorts of games without the Super League or without, again, the exceptional circumstances that this New Zealand tour is played under. Even Ireland, being a full member, being right next to England, they usually don't get these sorts of games. They just get stragglers from England, and they don't even get play England that much as they should. So yeah, like, it is nice to see these games happen, but I feel like again, like as we've talked about again before on the show, the this stuff is nice, and this stuff is the stuff that should be happening more. But I feel like whenever it does happen, it sort of shows why the system is a little broken, because this should not be something that only happens in extraordinary circumstances. It should be something that happens much more often. And everything that happens in cricket, it feels like it's been set up so that this stuff doesn't happen.
Okay, and there's also that sometimes we forget how close the game of T20 cricket can be. I mean, we've seen that there's a certain gap of experience between the full member nations and the associates. But when we see that I mean, that is mostly in 50 over cricket. But when you look at the T20 cricket, as we saw yesterday with Netherlands and New Zealand, like there was not that big of gap of experience as we saw in the Ireland versus New Zealand 50 over series. This was rather close, and seeing someone like Base Delete do really well, it kind of opens up a different realm of possibilities, I guess, because this is one format where teams are rather close, and there are players that know each other much better. So I guess maybe T20 can be that one format that can remove that experience gap and bring in more bilateral series between these teams. Do you think?
T20, like it does help, yeah. Um, like T20 games are generally closer, you generally get more upsets in them. But one interesting thing I read once was that a lot of the ODI associates actually prefer playing one-day cricket because it's a different type of cricket than what they usually get to play, and also for a lot of them, they feel like that's actually a better way uh, to force upsets because it's easier to go at a lower level for a longer time than a very high level for a short amount of time, which is what's usually expected to win in these T20 games against top full members. Uh, so yeah, like maybe the line that T20 is the only way you get upsets isn't quite the one to follow, but it is an interesting thing to look into, and also yeah, like you're more likely to get a T20 against a full member than a one-day match. Well, especially without the ODI Super League going forward. And the T20 World Cup is also bigger, so that's an easy way to qualify for these events. And the Olympics, the cricket at the Olympics will be T20, cricket at Commonwealth Games, Asian Games, African Games, they're all T20 cricket. So T20 is how you're going to be able to play full members more often. and it's not a bad thing. But again, I do feel it could be better.